Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to go ahead and talk about 4 YA horror books that I have read by Black authors. This was a video I was actually trying to get out a couple of weeks ago, but one of the books that I had chosen for this particular video was taking me a long time to get through, so it's here now. But I wanted to do this because I was in the spooky mood. I wanted to read some horror books and I wanted to check out some books from authors that I have never read from, and that's what I did. So 2 of these are actually anthologies and the other ones are just novels. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go in the order that I read them or attempted to read them. So first up we have here is All These Sunken Souls. This is the first horror anthology that I picked up. I ended up rating this one 3 stars. It's so hard with like anthologies or short stories. I tend to actually go into them thinking that they're gonna be 3-star reads because there's always gonna be some stories that you like more than others. And that was the case with this one and the other one that I will mention here in a little bit. But there were some standouts in here. So I actually gave one of these 5 stars, and it was by Lizelle Samberry. It's called All My Best Friends Are Dead, and it's about these group of girls. They're in high school. They had a sleepover, and you know how back in the day people used to say like Candyman 3 times in the mirror? This was like a situation with them in this particular case. Really enjoyed it. It had like a past and present timeline. Phenomenal story. There was also one in here called Lights. This one was about this teen that breaks into these people's house and was kind of questioning why they were leaving all of the lights on, and soon found out why the lights stayed on in that house. I also like the story Be Not Afraid by, I think her name is Asia Monet. And this one follows this priest and this old man. They bury who they think is an angel, like on the property of this church that the priest is a priest for. And some things start to happen. That one was really fun. There were some in here that I gave like 1 star. There were a few 3 stars. And unfortunately in this one, I did DNF one of the stories. But overall, I thought this was fine. I think this is a great place to start if you are trying to get into horror, especially if you know you're a fan of YA. This has a lot of different type of stories, a lot of different type of horror elements. So overall, I did enjoy this one. So then the next one that I have here that I attempted to read is Dead Girls Walking by Sammy Ellis. So I unfortunately had to DNF this one, and I DNF'd it pretty early on. I stopped at page 59 at the start of chapter 8. So this one follows our main character. Her name is Temple, and we find out that her father is currently serving time in prison for a string of murders. He is a supposed serial killer, and unfortunately one of the people that he claims to have killed was her mother. And so she recently found out the location of her body. He kind of told her where the body was buried, and she's been searching for it. And so she decides to take a job as a camp counselor at this LGBTQ plus camp. And it's with like a lot of girls that are part of that community. And so she decides to take that job because it's on the property where her father said her mother's body is buried, and that will give her time to look for it. At the part that I was at, she had just gotten to this camp and she had just started her search. For whatever reason, this one just was not grabbing my attention. I know I only gave it about 60 pages, but I think that's far enough into a story to determine whether or not I'm going to like it. And like I said, unfortunately, nothing about it was like pulling me in. And when I was trying to figure out whether or not this was going to be something that I was going to really try to push through, it doesn't really have great ratings over on Goodreads. But if this is a book that sounds good to you guys, by all means, please check it out. This is one that I'm going to keep around for a little bit because I'm not sure if I just could not get into it because I just wasn't in the mood to, or I'm not sure what the case was. But if I feel the need to pick it up here soon, I'm going to try to. But as of right now, as of today, I'm considering this one a DNF. The next one that I have here is the other anthology that I read, and that is The Black Girl Survives in this one. It is basically these horror stories where the main survivor is a Black girl. Yay for us, because you know we be the first ones dying. So we make it out in these. So of course, just like I mentioned with the other anthology, there were some in here that I really liked. There were some in here I did not like. I do have a couple of 5 stars, a couple of standouts, but overall I settled on 3 stars for this one. So one of the ones that I gave 5 stars that actually had like goosebumps, you know, coming up, that was The Brides of Devil's Bayou by Desiree S. Evans. So in this one, this girl, I think she's about to turn like 19 years old. And so on her 19th birthday, the devil or this entity, this demon is after her. And that has been happening for like the past 4 generations. Any of the women in this family who have turned 19, they have been killed by like this demon. And so when it's her 19th birthday, she goes back to her hometown and she's determined to like get rid of this demon forever. Creepy story, like creepy. Another one that I gave 5 stars, and my only other 5 star in this one, is Black Pride by Justina Ireland. And this is about this girl. Well, in this town, like people are dying from something out in the woods. And so this girl decides to go on a like camping trip to a cabin. I don't even know if you would consider that camping, but she went to a cabin with her friends out in the woods, and she comes across this thing that's out there killing white people. And so I really enjoyed that one. It takes place in like the 1970s, kind of makes sense for where the story goes, but I had a really fun time with that one. Again, a majority of these I gave 3 stars. There's a couple 1 stars in here. There's 1, 2 stars, but overall I thought this one was fine. I really like the concept of this and how like the Black girls survive in this one. Again, just like with that other anthology that I mentioned, this one has a lot of different horror elements. It's also another one that I would definitely recommend if you are somebody that doesn't read a lot of horror, but you want to like dip your toes into some horror. I would definitely recommend this. And with all of these books, these covers are like stunning. I think this one might be my favorite out of all of these. But yeah, this is definitely an anthology that I would recommend. So then the last book that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Tender Beast by Lascelle Sandberry. This is her new release for this year. And this is my second book that I have tried by this author. The first one that I read was Blood Like Magic. And I unfortunately DNF'd it, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this one I actually struggled through, but I made it. I did read it. So in this one, in the prologue, we find out that this Black family's mother dies. Then we go forward, I think like a year, almost a year. And this family is very wealthy. They're prominent in their neighborhood. They are like the owner of this academy. And so their younger brother, Dom, has been to juvie for the death of this white girl that he was dating. Mind you, he's a kid. He's like 13, 14 years old, maybe like 14, 15 years old. And so he was accused of that murder. He was let go. They have a really good attorney, and he was let go. And he was still charged, but he's out on bail. Well, bail? They give you bail for juvie? Anyways, he's at home. And so the siblings, they end up going to school. The main sibling that we're following in this story, her name is Sunny. And so one day after school, she discovers her brother Dom right next to another dead body. And so she is trying to figure out if Dom is the one that's doing these murders, or is there someone like after their family and trying to frame Dom for these murders. Let me start with the positive. So I like the family dynamics in this. because everybody has like a role that they play. And I like actually reading about a wealthy, influential family, especially a Black family, because that's something that we don't read a lot of. So I actually like that in here. Sunny's character, she is one of the siblings in this book where she is like, she tries to be like really upbeat and she tries to be really optimistic, even though that's not really how she feels. And she was told by her mother before her mother passed that if anything were to happen, she is the one that is supposed to like take care of this family and like lead this family. However, her older sister Carter is actually the one that has been taking a lot of charge. And so there's a lot of resentment there. There's also a lot of like underlying resentment with these other siblings and their younger brother Dom. Some of them believe that he is the cause of these murders. For whatever reason, their mother kind of like put Dom on like the outs and didn't treat him like the other siblings. And so of course, them seeing that, nobody really talked to him either. He was just kind of there. He was the black sheep of the family. And so while Sunny is trying to figure out what is going on with her brother in these murders, she is the one that kind of gets closest to Dom. I also liked the different topics that we talked about because this family is dealing with the grief of their mother, you know, the loss of a parent. We're also talking about like this sibling relationships, because I mentioned before that they all kind of play a part, but they're close but not close, like a fake kind of close. And so we actually get to see like Sunny's relationship with each of her siblings, which was really interesting. But besides that, everything else about the story I just was not really vibing with. I almost DNF'd this so many times. This book took me so long to get through, almost a month. And that is actually one of my first complaints about this, is I felt like the story was entirely too long. It's a little over 400 pages. I think about 100 pages could have been cut and we would have gotten the same story and it might have hit a little bit harder. A lot of the conversations that were being had, especially with Sunny and her feelings about the family and how she feels that she should be the one leading the family, all these conversations at a certain point felt really repetitive and we just didn't need to have the same conversation over and over again. There was also some journal entries that was left by her mother. I have two problems with these journal entries. So at a certain point, it just felt like we were getting more information than Sunny was. And so it was taking a little while for her to catch up to what was actually going on. And so that kind of like slowed the pacing down for me as well. And then within these journal entries, we had footnotes. And if you guys know anything about me, I do not like a footnote, especially if it's not adding anything additional. And these footnotes weren't doing anything. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I do not like footnotes. And so that did not make me happy. And after a certain point, I stopped reading them. So maybe they did add something. I don't know. But the footnotes that I was reading, it just kept taking me out of like whatever it was the mother was trying to convey in those journal entries. I also thought the ending and like the twist and the explanation of what was going on was very underwhelming. I know, just like my description of this does not seem like a horror. It does have some horror elements, not a lot, but they're there. I would definitely consider this more of like a mystery horror, but it's a little bit of horror in there. But because this book was so long and because it just felt like it was being dragged out, by the time we got to the end, I honestly just did not care. And I'm really sad about this because I've actually heard a lot of good things about this book. I know a lot of people really enjoy this author's works, but so far they have not been working for me. So I settled on 2 stars for this one. I do have her other book, Delicious Monsters. I am going to give that one a try, but honestly, my expectations for that are not really high because I did not really enjoy this one. And then I DNF'd another book. But again, if this sounds good to you, I would go ahead and check it out. Maybe check out some other people's reviews who could articulate why they really enjoyed it, and maybe this one will work for you. Well, that's all that I have for you guys. I was hoping that this would have turned out a lot more positive, but unfortunately it did not. But you know, I try to be as honest as I can about the books that I read, and some of these just did not work for me. But if you have read these and you have enjoyed them, please let me know that down below. If maybe I have convinced you to pick any of these up, please let me know that as well. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.